Philadelphia, and welcome to the Connector Live TV, The Influencers. I'm your host, Michael Rice, a.k.a. The Connector, and today we welcome royalty to our studio. Not royalty by birthright, not royalty by accident, but royalty earned through purpose, preparation, and the relentless pursuit of a dream that refused to be denied. When you dare to pursue your dream, the universe has no choice but to make a way. Kings and queens, stay with us, because what you are about to witness is more than a conversation. It's a masterclass in what happens when a young woman decides that greatness is not optional.
Good day, everyone, and welcome back to the Connector Live TV, The Influencers. I'm Sherry Pennington, and it is always a joy to be right here with you. Before we bring out our incredible guest today, we want to take just a moment to talk to our community, because this show, this network runs on your energy, your love, and your support. The Connector Live TV is your community television network, alternative media in your mailbox. It is built by us for us. If you are watching on cable or stream, we have a simple ask. 3 things right now. It will take less than 30 seconds after you watch this program. Head on over to YouTube, step 1, and subscribe. Hit the subscribe button on our YouTube channel. The Connector Live TV, when you subscribe, you never miss an episode. And every single subscriber tells the algorithm, this content matters. This community matters. If this show has ever inspired you, if a guest has ever made you think differently, act bolder, dream bigger, hit the like button. And then share this episode with someone who needs to see it today. Now this one. This one is our favorite. We want to hear from you. Drop a comment right now on YouTube and tell us, who would you love to see on The Influencers? What themes and topics matter most to your community? Are you passionate about education, economic empowerment, mental health, the arts, entrepreneurship, criminal justice reform, youth development, spiritual wellness? Whatever is on your heart, put it in the comments, because the Connector team needs every single one. And the next guest sitting in that chair just might be someone you suggested. This is not just a television show. This is a conversation. And you, kings and queens, are part of it. And now, the moment you've been waiting for. Today, on The Influencers, we are honored, truly honored, to welcome a woman who represents the very best of who we are as a people. She is an educator, an advocate, a servant leader, and the newly crowned national title holder who is already changing the conversation across this country. Our guest today is a school administrator currently serving at IDEA Charter School, where she champions community-centered education and youth development every single day. She is a proud graduate of the University of Wisconsin and the University of Michigan, and she is not done yet. She is currently pursuing her doctorate in educational leadership. Her crown-winning platform speaks directly to the needs of our children, expanding opportunity, access, and mentorship for young people of color in communities just like ours. Representing Cincinnati, Ohio, she stepped into a room full of excellence and she was crowned. And beyond the crown, beyond the credentials, she is a devoted mother and a passionate believer in the power of education to transform lives from the inside out. Kings and queens, she has captured a national crown. She is carrying our community's story to stages across America, and today she is right here with us on the Connector Live TV. Please get yourself together and wait for it and join us in giving a magnificent welcome to the reigning 2026 Miss Black America, Miss Brianna Suggs.
So, Brianna, welcome to Philadelphia, and welcome to the Connector Live TV, the influencers. All right, and you met my host, Miss Sherry, the legendary Sherry Pennington
Yes.
from WKDU. So you're here with the big boys today, right?
Yes. Good to
How
be
you doing today?
Yes.
How you doing today?
I'm well, thank you. It's an honor to be here. I'm happy and I'm excited to talk with you both.
Okay, so we're gonna jump right into it.
Mhm.
Now I know that the crown doesn't choose you; you choose to pursue it. So walk us through the
Mhm.
moment you decided to compete for Miss Black America and what the journey demanded of you before you even stepped on the stage.
Yeah, so I think me entering the state pageant was kind of a moment for me just to step back into myself. I'm a mother and I'm an educator, and so I've invested into the youth for a lot of time. And I realized that, oh, maybe, I got dreams and goals and aspirations too. Let me just push myself and see what this would be like, what the outcome would be. And my first pageant was a success. I won Miss Black Ohio America, and then my second pageant was Miss Black America, and I won that. So, and it's more than just winning; it's the whole experience that really has been an amazing part. So, I think that was just me trying to test my own boundaries and abilities.
How long was that journey for you from the first one to the second one?
About 2 years, about 2 years. I know we started like campaigning that year prior for Miss Black America. I did my year reign. We're crowning another Miss Black Ohio this June. So it was a very great experience with just networking and just connecting with other queens as well.
Very good.
Was there anything that you had to overcome along the way in order to get on track for that? What was the thing that stood in the way of it, maybe that you had to push aside to?
Yeah, I think definitely time management. And I'm a busy woman. I'm always busy. I've always been busy. And so, like, working full time, going to school full time, being a mom. Also, wanting to make sure that my daughter has experiences that don't just center around me. And so I definitely had to manage my time well. I was doing a lot of volunteering, and so just making sure I was prioritizing the things that I wanted to accomplish, and that meant I had to hang out with my friends less, and then some of those relationships. Oh, you're too busy. So it's a give and take, but you know you're going to work for what you want, and so that's what I wanted, and I had to make that adjustment.
One of the things I just heard you say, one of the driving forces is your daughter, is to make a way for her to see another example. What motivates you for opportunity given to other young folks? That seems like that's an underlying principle for you. What is the motivation for that?
Absolutely. I would say my daughter and the youth, just young people, have inspired me to do and show up in this way as a role model that I am. I've been working in education for over 10 years. And so really being able to just laugh with the kids first, because children are hilarious when they ain't acting crazy. But one, just being able to laugh with them and just know that they watch me and they respect me so much. And so, like, okay, those eyes have been on me for a long time. So really being able to prove to them, like, okay, it doesn't matter where you come from. I come from Milwaukee, Wisconsin, 55206 area code, where that's the most incarcerated black man in the country,
Wow.
and so, like, just being able to really come from a place of poverty, but not sit in that, and just remind young children that you can achieve any goal. Like, you're not limited to just the things that you see. You really have to think big and aspire for great things because you're capable.
Love that.
We want to talk about her platform. You know, your platform, it centers on expanding the educational opportunity and access. Can you just expand on that a little bit? What made you choose
Yes,
that
yes. I'm all
platform? And
about
go ahead.
Absolutely. I'm all about equitable education. For me, that means making sure that students who may have access to less resources get the most quality education or experience that I can personally directly involve myself in. And so for me, what that looked like as I worked in early childhood education. I've invested a lot of my own personal educational journey. Right now, I'm pursuing my doctorate in educational leadership. So I'm continuing to be a lifelong learner and learning about how to be a quality educator and soon and well, I'm an administrator now, but soon to open my own school so I can really know the ins and outs and providing those quality services to students. But as my first year as a teacher, what that looked like for me was staying really late, making sure that I knew how to teach little kids how to read. I didn't take my job lightly at all. And so that's why I was like, when I was invested in the kids, before I even had my daughter, that's what I was doing. I was staying, I was making sure I had my lesson plans because it was important to me. I take my job seriously. And so it was important to me that I took that extra time and I made that investment to know what I was doing. So when I got in front of those students in my classroom, I was not just confident in the content, but being able to make sure that they understood what was being taught. So just really, really being passionate and directly applying my passion to my practice.
Yeah, that's a lot that you're taking on there with the 2 degrees and pursuing your doctorate now, right? And then had the
Yes.
pageant, the daughter, the youngster. What keeps you going? What are you drinking in the water? Look.
Well, I think what keeps me going is like I just I get bored. I think pretty easily, and so I like to be busy. But I realize too, like maybe that being busy is not always the best, because sometimes I do get drained, and I am mindful about what burnout could look like for me. And so, as I am finishing this degree, I'm looking forward to that, to graduating, but also having that time back so I can really do more things that don't require me to do something for someone else in that sense. Like, let me do something for us that we want to do. And so I'm looking forward to that. What's keeping me going right now is just knowing that there is an end. This is a means to an end, and that this is inspiring other people. This is something that my daughter can see directly and model herself. Like, girl, you can't give up. I know the struggle, so
How
I
old
know the
is your
struggle.
daughter? I'm sorry. How old is she, and what does she think about what you're doing?
She's 3 years old, so we
Oh,
really got to talk because
Ooh, okay.
yeah, it's crazy.
Uh
It's
huh.
I heard tearing it up. But basically, she comes to with me to my second job. So I'm a graduate assistant at the University of Dayton. I work at the Multi-Ethnic Education and Engagement Center, so MEC. So she comes with me there. So driving to Dayton is like an hour, so we know the travel. I let her listen to her songs. It's an hour there and an hour back. We listen to stories. But she knows the expectation. Like, look, I have to go to a class. Okay, what do I need you to do? Okay, I need to sit down and, like, so I'm training her in a sense, teaching her in a sense to where, like, look, you got to be in these professional spaces. Mommy has to work, and I need you to be with me, but I also need you. I know 3-year-olds get busy. Here's the snacks. I'm gonna let you get the iPad for a little bit. You can't have it all the time, but like in those moments, you gotta be flexible. So she's like, can I go to mommy's job? I want to go to mommy's job. So I don't think it's so terrible for her.
Good. Good.
So tell me, how does like being a mother, I guess, dictate how you show for other people's children?
Yeah, I think it just gives me so much. Like, even before I was, I've always been a nurturer. Being a nurturer was just a part of my being in my blood, which is why I think I've always just loved working with children. And so being a mom now, I think helps validate, a lot of the things that, like, when I redirect students or where I see where they're coming from, just even just knowing that children learn from their parents. And so a lot of the time I can't fault these young children for bringing parents and habits from the household, So it's just taught me a lot about what what these children put out and how it is. They are a product of their environment.
So what do you think that your daughter takes from her view of seeing you? I mean, she may look at back at this. I have older daughters, and they remember when they were coming up, and they remember what they had to do. How do you think? What would you like for her to be thinking in terms of looking at her mom and what that represents in her life and her as a woman someday, right?
Well, I would want to set the bar in a sense to where she doesn't necessarily have to be Miss next Miss Black America
Okay,
if
yeah,
she
yeah,
doesn't
yeah.
want to.
She's Miss
But,
Black
you
again.
know, at least, but it's a real pleasure to hear her sing, "Watch out, Miss Black
All right.
America." You know, she sings that song. She was like, "Mommy, you're a queen. Like, where's your dresses?" Like, she's really taking it in, and so it makes me proud for her to see me in that way and to kind of she has an understanding of a little bit of what's going on. Um, and I just want her to see me and be like, you know, my mom did it, I can do it. Or, you know, if there's been things or she's overcome challenges. And so just seeing me as an example of it's not perfect. It has not been perfect. And so I still strive to my best of my ability. And so if I can show her that, just try your best at anything. If you want to be,
Hmm.
she told me, she said, Mommy, I want to be a doctor. And said, okay, we're going to make sure we invest in that dream. We need toys. We need to make sure we practicing our reading and writing and taking education seriously because you are to be a doctor. If that's what you want to do, baby, I want you to make sure that there's nothing stopping you from that dream.
I'm certain that's going to happen given your drive. And if nothing else, through osmosis, she's traveling back and forth for hours. I mean, and that's what our children need.
Hmm.
We need these type of role models to help keep them on the straight and narrow path because that's part of the issues, all over the country right now. So kudos to you for all of that and best of luck with that whole
Thank you.
journey with your daughter. Yeah.
Thank
So
you.
Miss Black America is not just a beauty title; it's a platform with reach and with the weight and responsibility. As the 2025-26 title holder, what is the message that you want America to hear right now about our children, about our communities, and about the stake? What's at stake if we don't act?
I would want America to know the phrase, the lead by example. That's my biggest thing is leading by example. I know back in the day, folks would be like, "Do as I say and not as I do." We can't we can't continue to be that person for these children and expect them to be better than what we model because children don't always listen. They don't always they're not always going to do what you tell them to do, but they will do what you show them and they will
That's right.
repeat what you show them. And so y'all like my message would be start being mindful of how you show up on the small things. The music you listen to, the places you go, the people you have around, the habits you these things are going to be replicated. So just think about what you do personally twice and just be mindful of how you impact the youth because they are our future and we build them we lead them in that way.
Okay.
Yes.
Now, after you complete your reign, and you're watching by we got 1.5 million people who subscribe on our cable networks. What
Ooh-wee.
would you want them to say? What would you want a young girl, maybe 7 years old, to say about you at the end of your reign? About what would they say about you, what you did, and what your impact was, and what your legacy is?
Yeah, I would want them to be able to see my kindness through my acts, you know, how I show up, who I communicate with, and what I do. Like, kindness is my virtue in the sense of this is how I want to be known. You know, people don't always remember what you say, but they remember how you make them feel. And
Hmm.
while I might not meet 100 and half a million people just right now, but at least you can see my character, my values, the things that I do, and how I try to show up for my community.
I have two questions. What was your favorite part of being a part of this Miss Black America pageant? And what's next on the agenda in terms of fulfilling that role?
I think my favorite part was it's really just networking and building this community of just entrepreneurs. We have like people who do public speaking, children, parents, just meeting a whole bunch of different people that I never might have engaged with had I not been in this role.
Okay.
That was very powerful to me. And what's next is I think I really want to start dipping more into the media. I have always been interested and in that sense, just talking more, being able to show more of my authentic self. You know, I always give my pageant best in the sense of how I respond and the questions, but I'm a whole person outside of this title as a queen. And I would like people to get to know, you know, I'm pretty corny. I got some jokes stored up, so watch out, you know. But you know, I just want to be more personable and let people know, like, no, I know there's high expectations on all queens, and we're all human, and so just being able to show that side as well.
Beautiful. Michael?
Okay, I thought you had another
Oh
question.
no. Well, I mean, I can. So the next when does your reign end? Actually, in December? Is it for that whole year?
So it's technically
Her
like
reign
20.
goes until the next queen is crowned.
And when is that? It's like a year reign, right?
It can extend
Typically,
longer than
and
that.
so this one that it'll be until 27. So we started off a little bit late, so it goes like it reminds me of like a school year semester. So it's like
Okay.
it kind of goes into the next year.
Yeah. So will you be campaigning or not campaigning, but delivering message throughout the U.S. or how does that work with all the other things
Yeah,
that you're doing? know?
yeah. I was able for spring break. I was able to go back to my hometown. I'm originally from Milwaukee, Wisconsin. I'm currently living in Ohio, Cincinnati, but I was able to go back home for spring break. I was able to talk to some folks at an event. You know, get on the news. I was on the news here, and so just I just want to keep being involved in that way so my messages can be spread wide stream. Um, I know I need to get better at my social media. I'm really not that savvy, as you say.
Yeah.
But also my goal not is not necessarily be famous at all. It's just to be inspirational. You know, I seen this quote. It was like, uh, influencer, no, but influencing, yes. And so I feel like I can relate with that. Like I'm not necessarily my goal is not fame. My goal is to make impact. And so, but I know sometimes the impact can be greater when you have more following in a sense. So it's, you know, I have to balance that out. So I'm figuring that out.
Okay. Yep. Thank you for that.
Okay, we about to wrap up. But do you have like a message to those young girls out here who are aspiring with not necessarily trying to become Miss Black America, but who have high goals and reaching for it? What's the message from their reigning queen?
My message to you, young princesses and queens, is to always stay true to yourself. You want something, the only person that can really make sure that happen is you. There will be 1,000 and plus people trying to deter you from that dream. And even as you grow older, you'll recognize that people will project their insecurities on you too. You might be the sweetest person. People are not gonna, and everybody's not gonna like you, and that's just the reality. And so when you realize who you are, you know how you show up, you know you're confident in yourself, you'll recognize that it actually has nothing to do with you. It's this other person's own self hate. And so recognize that too. Recognize when people don't like themselves. So that way they don't try to make you not like your own self, because that's something that still happens as an adult. I'm seeing that now. And so my young girls, stay
Sad.
true to yourself and don't let anybody else's self hate distract you from being the great queen that you are.
I love
Okay.
that. Love that. Where's your crown? You got it nearby? No.
I got it in the box. I was gonna have it here, but I wasn't sure, but I got
When
it
we
put
when we
up.
bring you in the
I
studio,
got
you're gonna have to
baby.
wear the crown. All right, when we bring you in the studio, when you come to Philadelphia.
Right, right,
All
right.
right.
Thank
Yes,
you.
I'll be
So,
back. I'll be
Brianna,
back.
on
You get to
behalf of
see.
everyone here at the Connected Live TV, our entire production team, and every king and queen watching today, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for
Yes,
your
thank you so
time.
much.
Thank you for your truth. And thank you for reminding us with every word you spoke tonight that excellence is not an accident, it's a decision. Today we heard from a woman who is a school administrator, a doctoral candidate, a mother, and the reigning 2026 Miss Black America. And she wears every one of those titles with purpose and grace. We talked about what it really means to pursue a dream, not just wishing for it, not just talking about it, but doing the work, making the sacrifice, and showing up even when no one's watching. She told us that equitable education is not a political talking point, it's a lifeline. and for children she serves every day in Cincinnati that is personal. She reminded us that a crown is not a destination, it's a platform, and that a platform without purpose is noise. Now I want to speak to you, kings and queens watching at home right now. If tonight's conversation stirs something in you, if Brianna's story sparked a dream you thought was too far gone, a goal you put on the shelf, a version of yourself you stopped believing in, write it down. Today, not tomorrow, today. And then share this episode, text it to somebody, post it, tag a young person who needs to see what is possible when you decide that your community, your children, and your purpose are worth fighting for. You can find every episode of The Influencers on YouTube. Search the Connector Live TV network, subscribe, like, leave a comment, and tell us who you want to bring to the stage next. This show is your show, and your voice shapes what happens next.
All right. Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Kings and queens, we are about to shift the atmosphere in this room. Every now and then on The Influencers, we step away from the interview, away from the questions and the conversation, and we enter a space that our community has always held sacred. We enter the Poetry Corner. Tonight's Poetry Corner is something deeply personal to this program and to this moment. We have just spent this hour in the presence of royalty. We have heard from a woman who is not only wearing a crown, but who is living the legacy that crown was built upon. And so it felt right. It felt kind of necessary to pause, to reflect, to honor not just Brianna Suggs, but the entire image of Black women whose strength, sacrifice, and brilliance made this moment possible. The poem you're about to hear is called She Was Always the Standard, a tribute to Black queens and to Miss Black America. It is a poem that travels all the way back to 1968 to Atlantic City, to the night a man named J. Marvis Anderson decided that if the world would not make room for Black beauty, Black excellence, and Black womanhood, then we would build our own room. It honors Sandra Williams, the very first Miss Black America. It calls on the music of Curtis Mayfield, the voice of Pearl Bailey, the fire of the Jackson 5, the genius of Stevie Wonder. It lifts up the builders, the judges, the producers, the dreamers, every hand and every heart that kept this legacy alive across more than 50 years. And it closes with a crown placed upon the head of a woman named Brianna Suggs, and everything that moment means for every little girl still waiting, still deciding whether she is worth it. She is worth it. They all are, and this poem says so, out loud, in front of the world. The man who wrote these words is no stranger to the stage and no stranger to this city. He is a father, a son, and a mentor, a published author, a motivational speaker, a leadership coach, and the founder of the Philadelphia Youth Leadership Council. He is the man who built TheConnectorLiveTV with the belief that every story in our community deserves to be told with excellence, with dignity, and without apology. He has walked these Philadelphia streets. He has sat with our elders and our young people. He has listened, truly listened, to what our community needs, what it dreams, and what it is still owed. And then he writes. He writes the way our ancestors prayed, with his whole chest, with everything he has, holding nothing back. Tonight, he does not come to us as host. Tonight, he comes as poet, as griot, as a man who loves Black women the way our community has always deserved to be loved, openly, powerfully, and without condition. Kings and queens, please receive him.
They drew their lines in the sand and said that our beauty was a sin. The crowns were not for us to wear, and that we could not come in. They built their stage on marble steps and locked us from the door. But Marsh Anderson said, we build our own and much more. Not with anger as the mortar, not with hatred for the stone, but with dignity of the people who had never been alone. Who carry kings and queens and signed the bloodline of their name. Who knew that we were not the game, but we were the ones who caused them change. Atlantic City, 1968. The ocean at their back. People building paradise from everything that they lacked. They said, if beauty has a standard, we'll set it for ourselves. We're no longer begging for a place on someone else's shelves. Then Sandra Williams took the stage, and history held its breath. A woman stepping into life from centuries of death, of names erased, and stories lost, and beauty called a lie. She wore the crown and dared the world to look into her eyes. She was not the first to blossom beneath Philadelphia's sky of blue, and not the first to wake before the dawn and do what she must do. But she was the first to wear the proof upon a public stage, the living answer to the world that tried to cage the rage. And when they placed that crown of gold upon Sandra's brow, 10,000 women who came after made a silent vow. Every dream deferred, denied, delayed along the way would find a voice, would find its crown, and would find its rightful day. Then Curtis Mayfield picked up a chord and let his spirit fly. He wrote a love song to a queen and taught the world to cry. The kind of tears that come from joy, from God's unyielding view. Words that shook the nation when he wrote, "It's Black America, I love you." And Pearl Bailey took that song and stood before the crowd. She did not merely sing the words, she wore them like a shroud of glory, like an anointing oil poured upon the floor. Her voice a key that opened up a long forgotten door. The Jackson 5 boys from Gary, fire in the veins, took Madison Square Garden stage and broke its guilty can't change. Michael spun and Jermaine sang and Jackie hit the note. The world leaned in and understood what nobody had wrote. And that when Black excellence performs, the walls themselves must bow. That rhyme in our birthplace and the stage is ours right now. And then Stevie Wonder touched the keys and God leaned in from the sky. The room became a sanctuary, music a lullaby. For every child who ever dreamed beyond their circumstance, for every woman who was told to wait, who chose instead to dance. The crown they built by one alone, it takes a village true. It takes the men and women who believe the dream came through. J. Marsh held the architecture, kept the vision clear, and Bill Jolly gave the beauty his own soundtrack here. Von Gretchen Shepherd, supermodel, standard in her stride, sat in the judge's chair and opened every door, stretched wide. She did not merely walk the runway, she became the gate through which thousands of queens would pass. and graduate. And then there's Oprah. Say her name and feel the atmosphere shift. Before the network, before the empire, she's not a gift they gave to us. No, she was ours before the world took note. Miss Black America, the crown around the golden throat. She stood inside this lineage and knew what it would mean. That every queen came before and it paved the path between. The girl was in Mississippi and the woman she became. And Miss Black America was written in her name. This was never just about the beauty of a face. It was never just about the gown, the walk, the elegance, the grace. Through Lord, the grace was always there, always overflowing, a river wide and running deep and constantly outgrowing. The narrow banks, they tried to hold it, tried to call it small. The crown was built for women who had answered every call, who rose before the sunrise, who worked past the midnight hour, who turned their pain into purpose and their purpose into power. It measured inner strength, the kind that fights resistance, the kind that prays in private and then marches in the distance. Toward the horizon, no one can see but her alone, the kind that plants a garden knowing she may never see it grown. It measured the resistance of a people who survived, who took the fire thrown at them and used it to revive the children and the children's children, generations deep, who turned into the womb, into a wisdom they were born to keep. The girl, they said, was too much dark, too loud, took up too much space, who stood before the mirror and decided to embrace the fullness of her glory, every curve, every scar. She was the one the crown was made for. She was always been the star. So when Brianna Suggs walked and stood beneath those lights, she did not walk alone that night. She walked with all the fights, with all the prayers of mothers who had never seen a stage, and with every brilliant black girl burning, brilliant, trapped in a cage. Sisters built to hold them back, and the standards not their own. She walked with every woman who ever stood alone and dared to say, I am enough. I am in fact the most. I carry Cincinnati's children. I will not abandon my post. She carried always for the children waiting to be seen, a doctoral thesis on her desk, the places in between, the woman that the world expected, and the queen she chose to be, a mother and a scholar and a voice for the not yet free. She stood there before the judges and let her story speak, not with the language of the meek, but of the bold and the unique. The mountaintop where eagles go, but refused to crawl, who heard the world say, we cannot, and said, watch me all. And when they placed that crown of gold upon Brianna's head, sound a smile from 1968, and Curtis' song was read again across the atmosphere, and Pearl Belly's voice came rolling back like thunder, saying, "Daughter, you're our choice." She's always been the standard, not by their permission, not by their applause, not because they finally opened up the door, but because she walked through walls. She was a standard in the cotton fields, the standard in the kitchen and the floor, the standard in the schoolhouse and the boardroom, and the standard for every little girl who yearned for more. She's the standard when nobody's watching. She's the standard for the whole world stares. She's the standard when she's on her knees at midnight, holding together everyone's prayers. Long live our black queens. May they reign supreme. May they be every child's goals and the fulfillment of their dreams. We're here at the 58th Annual Miss Black America Pageant with Executive Producer Aleta Anderson. Miss Anderson, tell us about this momentous event.
Well, this occasion began back in 1968 when the pageant was founded out of protest, out of activism. In fact, it is a protest pageant, it is an activist pageant, it is a confidence pageant, it is an opportunity pageant, and it has continued over the decades. That brings us to the 58th anniversary Miss Black America pageant and Senior Miss Black America pageant, and our first ever National Little Miss Black America was crowned here at the GNR campgrounds, a historically black campground in Houston, Delaware. We've built momentum since February 15th to this date on this historical date as well, February 21st, 2026, where the Senior Miss Black America, Debrina Helm, was selected last night, and we are awaiting the accountant's tabulation on who the next Miss Black America will be. Our 58th anniversary Miss Black America, as we push to the 60th anniversary and continue to document our history of the Miss Black America pageant and all that aligned with the Miss Black America pageant in the 60s, in the 70s, in the 80s, in the 90s, in the 2000s, and bringing us up to this current time where many things have changed and yet many things have stayed the same or come full circle.
Okay. Now, we know that your father founded the Miss Black America pageant, J. Morris Anderson, and you have taken over as his executive producer. Tell me, how is that for you, being the executive producer of a legacy?
Okay, well, as you very well know, Mr. Michael Rice, well, the first part of the story is that two little girls said they want to be Miss America, told their father they want to be Miss America. And the history of the Miss America pageant is that at one time you couldn't participate unless you were fit and white. That was Rule 7. You had to be fit and white, and you had to prove that you were fit and white. I don't know how you did the proving back then, if it was the Family Bible or what that might have been. So he was very discouraged, not because we couldn't be a part of the Miss America pageant, but because that we could have a dream, that couldn't be realized. And when I say we, I mean little girls collectively, everywhere, that were disenfranchised, that were told they were ugly, that didn't have images that portrayed themselves. And, with that, in some cases, it extended past being a little black girl, being a girl, period. There were certain stigmas. And I remember at that time having books about becoming a nurse or becoming a ballerina or becoming a mother. And that kind of was it. And even in those books, there were little white girls that were becoming ballerinas and nurses and mothers. Not much of anything where a little black girl could see herself becoming a professional in the corporate world, a professional in the other institutions, medical institution, and even institutions of higher education and elsewhere. So anyway, his idea was that, more than his idea, his purpose was that no little girl again would say, I want to be, without there being a path. And he created the Miss Black America pageant. From very young, it took my father away, to fulfill the platform for little girls everywhere. So the one way I could spend time with him was to work with him. And I began working with the Miss Black America pageant and with his programming, Black America Magazine, which was spurred from the Miss Black America pageant from the time I was around 7 years old, going door to door selling magazines. I started off in sales, in syndication, but also in the very basic level in the mailroom of the Miss Black America pageant as a receptionist. And then I moved up and my father was always encouraging, not just to, it wasn't just about young women, but it was about black people, about community, and that never beats a fail but a try, and that there was really nothing that we could not do, regardless of age, regardless of size, regardless of institutions, and he was there to provide the tools that were necessary for that. So I went through all of the paces at the Miss Black America pageant production programming, and the goal, I never thought, as you said, I've taken over and become executive producer. I never thought it would be any takeover. I mean, I always thought I would be working with my father, and I still work with him to this day, but I never imagined myself at the helm without him. I imagined myself always supporting the programming, and eventually he told me, I didn't realize, that I was a community servant and that the Miss Black America pageant, is a community program. Anyway, so pressure, there's a lot of pressure, there's a lot of weight involved with, becoming the person that holds and carries, the dreams of, another person, and that has, been such a large stakeholder within and outside of the pageant, and that has been mighty, and that has been highly successful, and that has been tied to so many other giants like Muhammad Ali, Oprah Winfrey, and many, Kathleen Bradley, who's here with us today, and many other Miss Black Americas of all time. Ron Gretchen Shepherd is here with this Miss Black America pageant program today. Helen Ford and many more are here today and into the future. And Mike the Jackson 5 made their first TV appearance on the Miss Black America pageant. Curtis Mayfield writing the theme song, God Bless Miss Black America. The many that have graced the stage of the pageant, the Cool in the Games, the record producers, the studio heads, those were his people. That those came through the doors of the office and through our home every day. So to say that I'm replacing him, or take over, it seems it's very surreal. However, it was what I was activated to do, apparently, from very young, with all of the details that are involved, and so that's what I carry out purposefully, to continue to provide this activist pageant, and this protest pageant, and this opportunity pageant, and this identity pageant, and this confidence pageant for young women of diverse skin tone, diverse intellect, diverse thought patterns and complexities, everywhere, to create more of a global sisterhood as well. And it's heavy. It's heavy the way it feels. it's amazing the way it feels, the accomplishment aspect of it. We have a new Miss Black America that we'll crown today, and her part in it, the prize is for her to take part of this load. That's the prize. We have a new senior Miss Black America, and for them to be as present as possible and urge as many young women as possible and notify them that they have a platform, that they have support, that they have help, that they have a team, that they have a sisterhood. And this is not just an occasion that happens on a weekend in a month of the year. It is all the time, around the clock, 24/7, every day, every week, every month. It's quite a responsibility, and there's so many details for it to be successful, and so many people. And I have to really thank you, Michael Rice, for your encouragement. I mean, there's days when it feels like, it is more than difficult to accomplish what is needed to elevate and edify the women that the platform has been created for and who are so deserving of it. But God sends help, and one of the questions today was, faith is the enemy of fear, and how would you unlearn, or what fear would you unlearn, that has found its way into your life. And so we stand on faith and diligence and continue the program to another day.
Right.
And that's why I thank you and so many others for the encouragement and the reminder of the joy.
Right.
The
T says there's a documentary on the horizon.
Oh, yes, indeed. There is. We've been collecting stories from the pageant founder, Aleta Anderson. When I listen more closely now, and the stories, not the ones that are necessarily in front of the media, part of the interviews, and encouraged by specific questions, but just the memories of my father that date back before the Miss Black America pageant, and even to the time when we said, when we grow up, we want to be Miss America, and what that meant, what he interpreted it to mean, and what that meant to little girls who, saw a certain figure type, walking across the stage and had nothing other to identify with than to say, I want to be like that, not like what I see in the mirror will, what would develop there. So, for those things to have changed, and for us to continue to to maintain the positivity and positive programming. Sow the seeds of positivity and reap the flowers of success. That's our motto. I hope I didn't get too far away from the question.
Right.
But
no, and this just leads right into the next question. We see so many of these.
That's what it was. I'm sorry.
Right, yeah, documentary.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
We see so many Miss Black Americas out here being role models in terms of their platform. However, people are going to watch this, and especially on this program, The Connector Live TV, The Influencers, and look at you as an executive producer. What advice do you have for them young women out there, or just young people, period, that want to pursue a career and create something that's going to make a difference in society?
Okay. Well, the first part I want to say is that yes, the documentary is forthcoming, and we've collected much of the archives and as much information from the pageant founder and queens and our family as we grew up within the pageant. Secondly, in order to encourage young people, and your dreams can change, but the main thing is to maintain your confidence, maintain your vision, maintain your integrity with regard to your dream and to your programming and to your vision. Don't give up. Don't let a no or a closed door determine, your next steps. You have to thrive on, the materialization of what will be. But it's not just remain in faith, but it's not just a hope and a prayer. It takes a grind. It takes some groundwork. It takes building foundations. It takes building relationships. But it takes looking in your own backyard to find out what relationships you have, what you have to depend on, which is close, which resources you have, turning, turning. Sometimes you create it out of the dust. I tell you, and it takes faith, but it also takes recognition of the skills with which you have been blessed. So don't give up. I say that, but I also say, and I'm sure there's other organizations as well, but the Sisterhood of Miss Black America is here to help. It's been here to help since 1972 when Oprah Winfrey did say, when I left the Miss Black America pageant, I left feeling that anything is possible. So do that.